Ever get that, like, shiver down your spine when something online just feels off?
Mm-hmm.
Like maybe a deal that's too good to be true,
Right.
or you suddenly start getting bombarded with messages from some company you've never even heard of.
Yeah,
Well, you're not alone. Fraud is a constantly evolving beast.
it is.
And today we're diving deep into the world of advanced fraud detection with
Mm-hmm.
expert insights
Oh,
from Kamyar Shah,
absolutely.
who's a business consultant who's spent over 2 decades navigating this landscape.
It's not just about, being cautious anymore. It's about building systems that can outsmart the scammers.
Okay, so no more relying on gut feeling. We're talking next level security measures.
Absolutely. And Kamyar's experience across, various industries has really highlighted this. As businesses scale, especially in today's digital world, the threats they face, they become more sophisticated.
Makes sense. Bigger playing field, bigger stakes. So where do we even begin?
Well, Kamyar really emphasizes the power of AI and machine learning.
But can machines really outsmart human scammers?
It might sound like something out of like a futuristic thriller or something, but it's very much our reality now.
Okay.
Imagine, if you will, like teaching a computer program to spot a fake ID.
Okay.
So you feed it tons of examples, right? Both real and fake IDs,
Okay.
pointing out the subtle differences, fonts, layouts, microprinting, all that.
So like training a sniffer dog,
Okay.
but for digital deception.
Exactly.
Okay.
The algorithm learns from these examples to identify the telltale signs of a fake.
So we're training these AI detectives basically to recognize the known bad guys.
Mm-hmm.
But what about scams they've never even encountered before?
That's where unsupervised learning comes in.
Okay.
Think of it like this. Imagine a detective walking into a crime scene. Now, they might not know exactly what happened right away,
Right.
but they can spot things that seem out of place.
Right.
Clues that don't quite add up.
I'm picturing Sherlock Holmes like examining like a seemingly very ordinary room.
Yes,
Noticing every single tiny detail.
that's it. Unsupervised learning algorithms do the same thing, but with data. They analyze patterns, they spot anomalies, they flag anything that deviates from the norm, even if it's like a brand new tactic.
So we've got our AI detectives working around the clock, sniffing out suspicious activity.
Yeah.
But it's not just about looking at individual transactions.
Right.
Kamyar talks about something called feature engineering.
Right.
What exactly is that?
So imagine you're a detective and you're looking at a suspect's alibi, right?
Okay.
It's not just about what they say.
Right.
It's how they say it.
Okay.
Their body language, their tone of voice, even their choice of words can reveal way more than their words alone.
Okay.
Feature engineering is about giving our AI detectives that same level of insight.
So like we're teaching them to read between the lines, digitally speaking.
Exactly. We're talking about analyzing everything, from the time of day a transaction takes place
Okay.
to the device that was used, the IP address,
Yeah.
even like how fast someone's typing. These seemingly insignificant details, they can be incredibly revealing when it comes to spotting fraud. And these clues, they become even more telling when we start like connecting them together.
Okay.
Imagine you're investigating a series of like seemingly unrelated robberies.
All right.
Each one on its own might not raise too many red flags.
Right.
But then you notice that like each robbery, it occurred within a few blocks of like a major highway and always on a Tuesday afternoon.
Okay.
Suddenly a pattern emerges.
Right. And that changes everything.
Exactly. That's
Yeah.
that's a great analogy.
Yeah.
And that's essentially what we're doing with network analysis and fraud detection.
Okay.
We're looking for those connections,
Yeah.
those hidden relationships that can reveal coordinated activity.
Yeah. So we're not just looking for individual bad actors. We're looking for entire networks of scammers.
Exactly. And this is where things get really interesting.
Okay.
By mapping out these networks,
Yeah.
we can actually identify like the key players, the
Right.
ones who are like orchestrating the scams and raking in the profits.
This is blowing my mind. So it's like we're not just playing defense anymore. We're going on the offensive.
Yeah.
We're like taking down entire criminal enterprises.
It's a whole new level of like proactive security.
Yeah.
And it's not just about catching the bad guys after the fact. It's about preventing those crimes from even happening in the first place.
So that is what I call staying ahead of the curve. Yeah. But with all this talk about like AI and algorithms,
Right.
I have to ask, what about the human element? Where do we fit into this like high-tech security landscape?
That's a crucial question,
Yeah.
and it's actually something that Kamyar really emphasizes throughout his work.
Okay.
The reality is that even the most sophisticated AI, it still needs human guidance.
Okay.
Think of it like this. You wouldn't send a self-driving car out on the road without, first teaching it the rules of the road, right?
And probably some defensive driving techniques too.
Exactly. The same principle applies to AI in fraud detection.
Okay.
We need to train these algorithms. We need to, fine-tune their parameters, and we need to constantly monitor their performance.
Okay.
And that's where human expertise is really essential.
So it's a partnership, a collaboration between human intelligence and artificial intelligence.
Absolutely. It's about leveraging the strengths of both.
Okay.
AI is great at processing massive amounts of data,
Yeah.
identifying patterns, spotting anomalies, all that.
Right.
But humans, we excel at critical thinking,
Oh,
understanding context, making those nuanced judgments.
so we need that human touch to make sure that the AI is on the right track,
Yes.
to interpret the data,
Yeah.
and to ultimately make those tough calls.
Precisely. And as fraudsters continue to evolve their tactics,
Right.
that human oversight, it becomes even more crucial.
Yeah.
We need people who can anticipate new threats, adapt to changing circumstances, and really just outsmart the scammers at their own game.
So we're talking about a constant cat and mouse game.
Yes.
But one where we actually have some pretty impressive tools at our disposal.
Yeah, absolutely. But the technology, it's only part of the equation, right?
Okay.
The other crucial element is information. We need to know what we're up against.
Right.
And that's where threat intelligence comes in.
Okay, threat intelligence, break it down for me.
Okay, so
What is that, and how does it help us fight fraud?
imagine you're a detective.
Okay.
You're investigating a new case.
Okay.
One of the first things you'd probably do is check the police database for similar crimes, right?
Right. See if there are any patterns, any known suspects, any leads you can follow.
Exactly. Don't reinvent the wheel if you don't have to.
Right.
Threat intelligence is kind of like that database, but for fraud.
Okay.
It's about collecting and analyzing information about emerging threats, known fraudsters, common tactics, all of that.
So it's like having this global network of informants who are all just feeding you the latest intel on the bad guys.
You got it.
Wow.
And this information, it can come from a variety of sources, too.
Okay.
Law enforcement agencies, financial institutions, even cybersecurity firms.
So it's a real collaborative effort.
Yes.
Everyone's sharing information. Everyone's working together to stay one step ahead.
Exactly. And the more information we have,
Yeah.
the better equipped we are to identify and neutralize threats.
Makes sense.
But it's not just about external information, Kamyar. He stresses that internal threat intelligence is equally important.
Okay, so what is internal threat intelligence?
Yeah.
Is this where all my suspicious online shopping habits come back to haunt me?
Not quite. It's about analyzing your own data, your own systems, your own customer interactions
Okay.
to identify patterns and vulnerabilities that are specific to your business.
So it's like looking for clues in your own backyard,
Yes.
seeing if there are any weak spots in your own defenses.
Precisely. And this is where that human element comes into play again.
Okay.
You need analysts who understand your business,
Yeah.
who can spot those subtle red flags, and who can connect the dots that others might miss.
It's a combination of high-tech tools and old-fashioned detective work.
Precisely. And it's that combination that makes advanced fraud detection such a fascinating and constantly evolving field.
It really is fascinating.
But it's not just about, technology and information.
Okay.
It's also about having the right mindset.
Okay. I'm intrigued. What kind of mindset do you need to effectively combat fraud in this day and age?
Well, you need to be proactive, not reactive.
Right.
You need to anticipate threats before they materialize. And you need to be willing to adapt to a constantly changing landscape.
It's almost like a philosophy,
It is.
a way of looking at the world, always be one step ahead.
Exactly. And that brings us to another crucial aspect that Kamyar highlights the importance of real-time monitoring.
Okay, we're finally getting to the real-time stuff. This is what I've been waiting for.
All right.
Tell me everything.
So imagine you're a security guard, right? And you're watching a live feed of security cameras.
Okay.
You're not just passively observing,
Yeah.
you're actively looking for anything suspicious, anything out of the ordinary. That's essentially what real-time monitoring is all about.
So we're not just analyzing data after the fact, we're catching those fraudulent transactions as they happen.
Exactly. And this requires a whole different level of technological sophistication.
Okay.
We're talking about systems that can process massive amounts of data in real time,
Wow.
identify anomalies in milliseconds, and trigger alerts like instantly.
This is where those sci-fi movies come to mind again. It's like having a team of digital superheroes guarding our accounts 24/7.
It's pretty impressive.
It is.
But how do these systems actually work? How do they actually know what to look for in that constant stream of data?
That's the million-dollar question. Spill the tea.
Well, it all starts with rules.
Okay.
And no, I'm not talking about the kind your parents used to lay down.
No need to bring up those painful memories.
In the world of fraud detection, rules are like those if-then statements you might remember from, like programming class.
Okay, I vaguely remember those. If this happens, then that happens.
Exactly. So, for example, a rule might be if a transaction, it exceeds, say, $10,000,
Okay.
and it originates from a country the user has never even visited,
Yeah.
then flag it for review.
So it's about setting up those tripwires.
Yes.
Those automated responses to, like, specific triggers.
Precisely. And these rules, they can be incredibly sophisticated.
Okay.
They can take into account a wide range of factors, from the user's location and their spending habits
Okay.
to the type of device that they're using, and even like the time of day.
So we're basically creating this digital web, and we're trying to catch all those suspicious transactions before they even have a chance to, like, slip through the cracks.
Exactly. But it's not just about individual roles.
Oh,
It's about how those rules work together,
Yeah.
how they like interact and inform each other.
okay.
And that's where things get really interesting.
Okay, I'm on the edge of my seat. Tell me more.
We're talking about complex event processing, or CEP.
Okay.
Imagine you're watching like a basketball game.
Okay.
A single foul might not be a big deal,
Right.
but if the same player commits like 3 fouls in a row.
Yeah, they get benched. Timeout. Things just got real.
Exactly. CEP is about looking for those sequences of events.
Right.
Those patterns of behavior that indicate a higher risk of fraud.
So it's not just about individual red flags.
Right.
It's about, like, connecting the dots.
Yes.
Seeing the bigger picture unfold in real time.
You got it. And that's where machine learning comes back into play.
Okay. I thought we couldn't automate everything.
Right.
What's the role of machine learning in real-time monitoring?
Well, remember how we talked about those rules?
Yeah, the if-then statements.
Exactly. Those if-then statements.
Yeah.
Writing those rules manually, it can be extremely time-consuming and complex, especially as the number of factors that we need to consider grows exponentially.
Plus, humans make mistakes, right?
Yeah.
We miss things.
Exactly.
You get tired.
Exactly. And that's where machine learning comes to the rescue.
Okay.
With machine learning, we can train algorithms to automatically generate those rules,
Wow.
to learn from past data. Okay.
And to adapt to new threats in real time.
So it's like having a team of like super smart rule writers
Yes.
working 24/7, constantly refining our defenses.
Precisely. And that brings us to one of the most fascinating and rapidly evolving areas of fraud detection, behavioral biometrics.
Behavioral biometrics. It sounds like something out of a spy film.
Right.
Are we talking about like analyzing how people walk as they like type in their credit card info?
Not quite.
Okay.
Although you'd be surprised at what kind of data can be gleaned these days.
Right.
Behavioral biometrics is all about analyzing those unique, often subconscious patterns in how we interact with our devices.
Give me an example. I'm having a hard time picturing this.
Okay, so think about like how you hold your phone when you're texting,
Okay.
or how you scroll through a website.
The angle that you hold your phone, the pressure you use on the screen,
Right.
the speed at which you scroll, even how often you go back and like correct typos.
Oh.
All of these things, they create like a digital fingerprint that's unique to you.
So even if someone steals my password, my behavior might give them away.
Exactly. Fraudsters, they might be able to like mimic static data points, like your login credentials, right?
Sure.
But replicating your unique behavioral patterns, that's
Yeah.
a whole other ballgame.
That's reassuring, yet like slightly creepy at the same time.
Right.
Like how much do these systems actually know about us?
That's a valid concern.
Right.
And it really speaks to the importance of like responsible AI development and deployment. But the potential benefits in terms of fraud prevention, they're significant.
Yeah.
Imagine being able to verify a customer's identity just by how they type in their username.
Wow.
right? Like adding that extra layer of security
Right.
without any additional steps for the user.
That's the dream. Security that's seamless and invisible.
Exactly.
But let's shift gears a bit. Kamyar also talks about the importance of adaptive security frameworks.
Right.
What exactly does that mean?
It means that our security measures, they shouldn't be one size fits all.
Right.
They need to be able to adapt to like the level of risk that's involved in each situation.
Okay.
Think of it like this. You wouldn't wear a full suit of armor to go grocery shopping.
Right. Not unless I was really craving those sale price chips.
Exactly. You'd choose a level of protection that's appropriate for the situation.
Right.
And that's what adaptive security is all about.
So how does that actually work in practice? How do these systems like assess risk and then adjust security measures accordingly?
It's about analyzing like a multitude of factors
Right.
in real time.
Okay.
So let's say you're making a small online purchase
Okay.
from a familiar retailer.
Right.
The system might only require like a simple password verification
Right.
because the risk level is relatively low.
Makes sense. But what if I'm like wiring a large sum of money
Right.
to a foreign account
Yes.
at the first time?
That's where the system would like kick into high gear.
Okay.
It might trigger additional authentication steps
Like what? Like sending a one-time code to your phone?
or requiring you to verify the transaction through like a separate app.
So it's like having a personal security detail
Yes.
that's constantly assessing the situation
Right.
and adjusting the level of protection as needed.
Precisely. And the beauty of these like adaptive systems
Yeah.
that they're designed to be invisible to the user
Okay.
until they're needed.
That makes sense.
Right. The goal is to like provide a seamless and secure experience
Yeah.
without adding all that unnecessary friction.
Now that is what I call smart security.
Hmm.
But even with all of these like advanced technologies in place,
Right.
we're still talking about a constantly evolving landscape. Like how do we ensure that these systems stay ahead of the curve?
Right. That's where the concept of feedback loops becomes really crucial. We can't just like set these systems loose and hope for the best, right?
Right.
We need to be constantly monitoring their performance,
Right.
identifying areas for improvement,
Right.
and then incorporating those learnings back into the system.
So it's like a continuous cycle of like testing, learning, and refining.
Exactly. And this is another area where human expertise is essential.
Okay.
We need data scientists,
Yeah.
fraud analysts, security experts, all working together to analyze the data, identify emerging threats, and fine-tune the algorithms.
So it's a real team effort.
It is.
Humans and machines working in harmony
Yes.
to like stay ahead of all those pesky fraudsters.
Yes.
And on that note, I think we've earned ourselves a celebratory virtual high five.
Yeah.
Today we've not only delved into like the intricate workings of advanced fraud detection,
Right.
but we've also begun to unravel this really complex interplay of technology, human ingenuity, and that constant cat and mouse game between innovators and those who seek to exploit them.
It is fascinating.
It is. Until next time, everyone, stay vigilant, stay informed, and keep those AI detectives on speed dial.